This video introduces staff to how to use the damaged item procedures and focuses on situations dealing with problem items where 2 or more CCS libraries are involved. An item is returned to your library damaged. What are your next steps? If the item belongs to you, follow local practice for managing the damaged item. But if the item belongs to a different library, you may need to take specific actions in LEAP depending on the situation. The Damaged Item Procedures page includes instructions and a chart to help you determine what workflow to use. For most situations, procedures will involve 3 major steps. First, contact the patron. Second, apply the charges to the patron's account. And third, manage the item if needed. Here are examples of the workflow for damaged items where 2 or more CCS libraries are involved. In our first example, a book was returned in our book drop that it's water damaged and cannot be circulated. This book is from a different CCS library. It's currently still checked out to the patron. We will look at the circulation tab in the item record to see who it is checked out to and where it was checked out from. Now let's check the documentation to see what workflow to use. Per the chart, since the item does not belong to my library, was not checked out at my location, but is checked out to my patron, we will look at the workflow in section B. This section gives instruction based on if you're certain you cannot circulate the item versus if you're unsure if the level of damage is acceptable. Now, as I said earlier, this item is water damaged and cannot be circulated. It's completely damaged, so we will look at the procedures in section B1. Because it will be fully out of circulation, my library can follow local procedure for contacting the patron and applying charges. When ready, we can mark the item as lost to apply the charges. So this item now has a status of lost. Since the item has a status of lost, there are no additional steps for us to take to manage the item. The owning library will see this item listed in next month's Lost, Missing, Damage web report. Let's look at another example together. In this example, a Blu-ray from another library was returned to my location. The disc is scratched, but I'm unsure if the owning library will accept it back or not. Since my library has a sorter, this item is already checked in off the patron's record. Looking at the item record circulation tab, I can see it was last checked out to my patron and that it was checked out at my location. Again, per the chart, we will look at the workflow in section B. This time, we will reference the instructions for what to do if you're unsure of the level of damage. To start, notify the patron as per your local procedure. Next, we will contact the owning library. I'm going to send an email and attach an image of the item. The owning library responds back and says they will not be able to accept the item. So we will notify the patron and apply the charges to their record. Since the item was already checked in, we will need to manually apply charges to the patron's account. In their account tab, I will select Add Charge, enter the price of the item, and select a fee reason. My library does refer patrons to collections, so I will use a fee reason of replacement cost, so this fee applies towards our collection submission. Finally, I will add the item barcode to the fee to link the charge to this copy. Our final step is to manage the item. Since this item was checked in through our sorter, this item is no longer checked out to the patron, and the item status is currently in transit. I will check the item in again to clear the in-transit status. Depending on permissions, I may be able to modify the circulation status to damaged, or I may need to ask a supervisor to change the status for me. While the damaged item procedures attempt to cover as many situations as possible, there may be situations that don't entirely fit these guidelines. In those cases, work with the item's owning library to determine the best course of action. If you have questions, please email help@ccslib.org.